6.1 million Americans are behind on their mortgage right now. That's not over time. That is right now, today. But while millions cannot afford to keep a roof over their head, bottle service at a music festival just went viral. $425,000. Yes, people paid nearly $500,000 for sparklers and champagne in Miami while millions are losing their home.
They have a $425,000 bottle service in the VIP section. Look at these prices.
We are living in two different types of America. The have yachts who can afford to fly private, buy multi-million-dollar homes, buy businesses, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars traveling and at nightclubs, and then the have-nots who are financing burritos and behind on monthly rent and mortgage payments. So how do we get here? Why are so many people falling behind? And more importantly, what happens next? Right now, over 6.1 million Americans are delinquent on their personal mortgages, on their primary residences. And the FHA-backed loans, the ones meant to help lower-income families buy their first property, delinquencies have skyrocketed to 11%, with some regions like Florida and Texas showing far higher numbers.
FHA loans, their delinquency rate, while always higher, has been rising recently, now hitting 11.3%, and that is the highest since 2013.
And here's the kicker. These delinquencies have been hidden for years, thanks to a special forbearance and payment protection program that was initiated in 2020. Under the Biden administration, the FHA rolled out a payment deferral program where borrowers were able to reduce their payments 25% off what was promised as their monthly commitment. By doing so, that was no longer a delinquent mortgage, but now that curtain is being fully pulled back and opened for the world to see. A new study shows that a whopping 90% of the 131,000 delinquent mortgages are FHA. Reality is setting in, and it's not pretty. In response to this financial stress, the government tried to deny and defer the problems, kicking the can down the road and down the road and down the road. Well, here we are. The FHA reduced insurance premiums in 2023.
A recent announcement about changes to FHA loans is welcome news for home buyers. The Federal Housing Administration is set to lower the annual mortgage insurance premium by 30 basis points this month.
And the Homeowner Assistance Fund handed out $9 billion in funding to help people stay in their homes. But it wasn't enough. Many of the homeowners that needed help were already too far underwater. And now, as interest rates remain high, it's becoming impossible for millions to refinance and get ahead, which leads to something much bigger. Here's the hard truth. If banks start foreclosing on millions of homes, there's not a big enough pool of qualified buyers to take them over. Because who wants to buy a home with a 7% interest rate when you could rent for half the price in many locations?
If you fast forward 10 or 15 years, there are going to be regions of the country where you can't get a mortgage, there won't be ATMs, the banks won't have branches and things like that.
Home sales and mortgage applications are at the lowest point since 1995.
New report shows the demand for home loans is at a nearly 20-year low.
U.S. existing home sales last year dropped to their lowest level since 1995.
Home prices are sky high, property insurance and taxes continue to climb. The prices is getting out of control. Millions of Americans completely priced out of the housing market.
Finding a home for sale is getting tougher these days. Inventory is slim in part because mortgage rates are so high.
According to data from the National Association of Realtors on Friday, which said roughly 4 million previously owned homes were sold in 2024.
So what will happen next? Private equity. Firms like Blackstone, Pretium Partners, American Homes 4 Rent, and many others will seize the opportunity. These are the same types of firms that acquired entire neighborhoods during the great financial crisis of 2008, 9, and 10.
Home prices have gone up, rents have gone up, evictions have increased, and a whole group of would-be home buyers has been priced out of homeownership.
How am I supposed to compete with a hedge fund out of Texas on buying a home?
But this time, they'll step in and scoop up blocks of bad debt from these banks. And they can do so quietly without getting mainstream attention, like with what happened in 2008 and 9, where newscasters and broadcasters and journalists were talking about how bad the economy was. Now the world's distracted by the million different stories that are going on. They can step forward and acquire blocks and blocks of debt under the radar while everyone else is distracted. And then at the end, they'll turn them into rentals, into Section 8, and into permanent, guaranteed rental income from the federal government. This is a backroom deal, I believe, that will restructure and change America in the years to come. And just like that, the middle class is set to lose again. Remember when people used to laugh at the World Economic Forum quote, "You'll own nothing and be happy"? Well, in 2025, people are financing food. It's the new normal. Buy now, pay later at grocery stores. Everyone's accustomed to it.
Way more Americans are using buy now, pay later services to pay for their groceries than ever before.
Buy now, pay later isn't just financing Gen Z's online shopping habits. It's helping families put food on the table.
80-month car loans. Discussions around a 40 and a 50-year mortgage. Every single year, things are getting a little more radical, a little more radical. Imagine what the world will look like in the next 2 years, 4 years, and 5 years. Car loans right now for a new car, the average is about $750. 1 out of 5 cars on the road with a loan, north of $1,000 a month, just the car payment, not factoring in car insurance.
More than 100 million Americans have an auto loan, and auto loan debt in the U.S. is currently at $1.5 trillion.
Might be looking at $200, $300 a month on the car insurance. Gas, $25 to $30 a week. If you're lucky, possibly more, plus repairs. You could be $1,100 to $1,400 on a car.
Still, some Americans are feeling squeezed, defaulting on car loans at a record level.
In the first quarter of 2023, the average interest rate for a loan on a new vehicle reached 6.58%, up from 4.1% in 2022. That's an about 15-year high. Average car prices are also at a high.
Now, many people might say that's crazy. I would never spend that on a car, many people would say. But when you're on the freeway and you look to the left and you look to the right, good chance that one of those people will, right? And they are. This is the world we live in. The last few years, the economy was booming. People thought the money was never going to end. They just stacked it up, stacked it, stacked it, stacked it. Well, that's just the tip of the iceberg because they continue to stack it on credit cards, $1.2 trillion in credit card debt.
Credit card debt is at the all-time high. It's never been like this.
U.S. credit card debt has just hit a record high, $1.21 trillion in debt.
That's, in most cases, recurring and just revolving. All of these payments, got a lot of them just minimums, right? So many people during 2021 and 2022, that low interest rate environment, took out debt thinking the party was never gonna end. Well, now a lot of Americans are tapped out and they're on the brink. And the average household spending north of a third of their income on housing. If they live in a big city, it could be close to half of gross monthly income just to put a roof over their head. They're barely surviving.
Rental prices are unaffordable for a record number of Americans, with half of all renters paying more than 30% of their income on rent and utilities.
I first started renting and then coming now, it's definitely gotten a lot more.
It found more than 21 million renter households spent more than the recommended 30% of their income on rent.
And most people are doing it on borrowed time and borrowed money. It feels like a setup. I've been saying for the last year and a half, 2 years, that we're walking into a massive stage rug pull on America's middle class. And the system is being sold off one piece at a time. I saw this video the other day on TikTok. The guy spent 40 years in corporate America. And he said it's a hostile takeover.
I worked in corporate America for over 40 plus years. And I know a hostile takeover when I see it.
Not just housing, not just real estate, the whole government, Social Security, veterans benefits, even the post office. Laying people off, stripping the entire businesses down, cutting the fat, and selling the entire business to private equity and corporations so they can run a for-profit enterprise and take them over. So instead of public services, we get contracts with these companies, bids and corporations running the show, stakeholder capitalism. And once that happens, you're not getting that stuff back. And it's not just some TikTok theory. This is already happening. Have you heard about what's happening with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? A $12 trillion juggernaut, controlling 70% of all mortgages in America. These two massive mortgage companies were bailed out by the federal government during the great financial crisis in 2008 and 9. They've been under federal control ever since, basically keeping the mortgage market alive. Now they want to let them go private.
Fannie and Freddie used to be private companies, but since 2008, they've been under close government supervision.
President Trump himself has indicated that he wants to roll back the government's involvement in the two companies.
Fannie and Freddie private again.
Think about that. Letting two of the largest home mortgage lenders in the country go private and for profit. Right now, in the middle of all of this mess, you think that's going to help regular people buy a home? Or is this just more fuel for Wall Street to turn the housing market into a for-rental enterprise, spanning from New York City to Los Angeles and everywhere in between? So let's go back to this bottle service. Why are some people dropping $425,000, even $500,000 for bottle service at a club when other people are just rationing for groceries?
Inflation increased last month as the cost of groceries, gasoline, and rents rose.
The Consumer Price Index for March rose at an annual rate of 3.5%.
For the third straight month, prices have gone up more than expected, from the rising cost of car insurance and repairs to how much you're paying at the grocery store every week.
Because we are witnessing the biggest economic divide since the founding of this country in 1776, about 250 years. We're walking into something very big, and I advise everyone to invest as much as they can without over leveraging themselves into housing, owning assets, because this is what's going to matter. Owning hard, real assets, this fiat currency is going to continue to lose value over the coming years. And during that period, the wealthy, they're going to get wealthier. They're going to buy up homes, businesses, land. They're going to invest. This is all happening while the middle class is losing control of just the basics: shelter, food, and stability. So what happens next? Will this turn into another 2008 with foreclosures piling up and billion-dollar firms feasting on the scraps? Will inflation, interest rates, and layoffs continue to push Americans to the edge? Or is this the beginning of a much bigger reset? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, I think we're walking into a major shift in society. I saw a video of Barbara Corcoran, Shark Tank. She was being interviewed, and they asked, where should people move? Where should people start a business? And she said Pittsburgh, PA.
City would you go to in today's world if you were starting your first business?
Probably Pittsburgh.
Why Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh is great right now. Pittsburgh is like a young New York.
Now, sure, everyone's probably heard of Pittsburgh, but no one would have thought to move there. I believe this trend is going to continue to grow over the coming 5 years. It's going to be these random little cities that people don't really, these little flyover cities, people don't talk about, they don't travel to. Well, soon that's going to change because of the affordability crisis. And I believe we're going to see a lot of first-time home buyers moving into a lot of these markets. You got 35% of the U.S. workforce working remote. It's going to be a flight to affordability. That's what we're walking into. And these large corporations, they're paying very close attention to just how much money people have and what they can afford. And if people can't afford to live in a $500,000, $600,000 home, why would they buy them for $500,000, $600,000? They would need to buy them for $300,000, $350,000. It's going to be hard for them to get at that price point. So what are they going to do? They're going to buy homes that are $150,000, $200,000, and they're going to corner that market. And then they're going to continue to push the prices up. In 2020 and 2021, everyone was leaving LA, San Fran, Boston, New York City, and Philly. They're leaving a lot of these big cities, and they're going to Miami, they're going to Austin, they're going to Nashville, and they were chasing low income tax, no income tax, and a great lifestyle and freedom. Next 5 years, all about affordability. Everyone's going to be moving for affordability. Mark my words on that. It's going to be retirees. It's going to be everybody. They're going to be chasing an affordable place to call home. And I think this is all going to kind of melt together. The entire economy is going to go through a structural change. I think a lot of people are already feeling it. I think the next couple of years we're going to blink and the country is going to be unrecognizable because people are going to be living in these random little pockets all throughout the country because they were able to buy a house for $150,000, $200,000. And it's going to be pretty fascinating to watch. And I think investors that are investing in advance are going to be able to ride that inflation wave and that affordability crisis that's happening. I've relocated my entire family to Ohio because I saw this coming, and I believe this is what's going to happen. And we've been acquiring properties inside of quiet, nice, safe suburban communities, sub $100,000, and populations are growing. And I think we're all going to benefit from it. If you'd like to learn more about what we are doing, you can go to singlefamilyinvestors.com. That's singlefamilyinvestors.com if you have $100,000 minimum that you're considering to invest. You can click the link in the description just below. Catch you next video.